the event. He says that I can't do that because I'm working today. Well, if he's working today, I'm working today, but he also told me he's actually one of our county chairs here for us, even in this campaign as a volunteer. That's what gives me, that's the kind of thing that gives me my energy every day, traveling this state. We will have done over 390 events in Iowa by the time of the caucus. I'm proud to say that's more than all of the other candidates combined. We respect this process because this is how our elections need to be decided. Not with the fake mainstream media distorting everything, force-feeding our public with one narrative. That's how we get to where we are. And Steve, you know this well. You know what the mainstream media does is, a few years ago, this is a man who speaks the truth. One of the people who was talking about building a border wall before it was cool to talk about building a border wall. They called him racist and xenophobic and everything else for saying it. Well, now you got a guy by the name of Vivek Ramaswamy saying the same thing, years and decades later. Because it's what it means to stand for the rule of law in this country. And that's what we've lost, is our sense of who we are. So I'll just tell you a word about my family and why we're in this. And then I want to open this up and let's have an open and candid discussion today. Oh, good. You're going. Thanks for you. We're going one by one. Thanks for everything you're doing, Steve. I appreciate it. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. Thank you. It's a good man. Our parents came to this country. My parents did. My brother and I have been entrepreneurs in this country. Our parents came here 40 years ago with no money in search of opportunity. And in a single generation, I've gone on to found multiple successful companies. I did it while marrying my wife, Apurva, who is a throat surgeon. She cares for cancer survivors at the Cancer Hospital at Ohio. Raising our 2 sons. They're all in Des Moines today. They would be with me, but for the snowstorm, we left Apurva and the kids in Des Moines today. I'm worried that American dream isn't going to exist for our kids and their generation unless we step up and do something about it. And I see a Republican Party that has grown lazy, actually. That's what pulled me into this race, that red wave that never came. Remember that? Happened a year ago. Why? They tried to blame Trump. They blamed abortion. It's none of these things. It's because we as a Republican Party have lost our sense of who we are and what we stand for. See, the left, they'll give you a vision. It's not the right vision, but they'll give you something. Race, gender, sexuality, climate, a modern version of Marxism in new clothing. And we're sitting here criticizing that vision, but without offering an alternative vision of our own. What do we actually stand for? What does it mean to be a Republican in the year 2024? What does it mean to be an American in the year 2024? To me, it means we believe in the ideals of 1776. If there's 2 things this campaign is based on, 2 things that I'm going to revive in this country, they're basic ideas. The first is that we, the people, create a government that is accountable to us, not the other way around. That the people who we elect to run the government ought to be the ones who actually run the government. Not the shadow government in the deep state that's pulling the strings today. So if there's one thing that I get done as your next president, one war that I will wage and win, it isn't some pointless foreign war abroad. It is the war on our own shadow government, the permanent state, right here in the United States of America. You want to drain that swamp, you want to gut that deep state, here's how I'm going to do it. On day 1, we will start the firing of 75% of all federal bureaucrats in the federal government. That is how you drain the swamp. We will take the government agencies like the FBI, the ATF, the CDC, the U.S. Department of Education, and we're going to get in there and not just reform them. We will get in there and actually shut them down. That's how you revive this constitutional republic. I'm not going to use last year's budget as the baseline, which is based on the prior year's budget before that, which is based on the year before's budget. No. We're going to use 0 as the baseline and ask what's actually necessary. Zero-based budgeting. That's how I've run my businesses. That's how I'm going to run the federal government of the United States. That's how we're going to fight our national debt. That's how you drain the swamp. If I can't work for you for more than 8 years as your next president, which is a good thing, by the way, neither should any of those federal bureaucrats reporting into me either. 8-year term limits for the bureaucracy instead of civil service protections. That is how you drain the swamp. And if there's one thing I get done, and I believe one thing, if I may say this, that I will do better for this country than anybody else in this race and anybody else I believe in this country, it is to actually shut down that deep state. That's number one. The people we elect to run the government should be the ones who actually run the government. And number two is, those people who do run the government, including me, the president, owe a moral duty to the citizens of this country, not another one. I'm not going to use our taxpayer money to fork over more money to some kleptocrat in Ukraine buying a bigger house. No. We're done with that. We're going to use our own military to defend our own borders in this country. It's not too much to ask. We can use our military to defend against an invasion across somebody else's border. Well, now we're using our own military on my watch to defend our own southern border and our northern border, too. This is how you address the border crisis. End birthright citizenship for the kids of illegals who shouldn't be here in the first place. Anybody who's in this country illegally will be returned to their country of origin because that's the right thing to do for the rule of law in the United States of America. It's not too much to ask. The people we elect to run the government should run the government, and the moral duty that they owe is to the citizens of this nation, not any other one. The fact that the media will describe that to you as radical, they'll describe me to you as frightening. That's what Van Jones at CNN called me. It was frightening. He was shaking. That's what he said on air. Tells you how far we've come. The people we elect to run the government run the government. The moral duty they owe is to the citizens of this nation, not another one. It's not a black idea or a white idea. It's not even really a Democrat idea or a Republican idea. It shouldn't be. These are American ideals that we fought a revolution to secure in this country. And I believe deep in my heart those ideals still exist. I'm running for president to revive them. We live in a 1776 moment right now. If our founding fathers were here today, what would they tell us? You still have another 250 years still left. We do as a nation and then some. But it's not going to happen automatically. It's going to happen because you step up and seize it, just as we did the first time in 1776. You all are here in the middle of a blizzard. George Washington didn't complain about the weather when he crossed the Delaware. It's that kind of moment we live in. We're in the middle of a war in this country. I don't use that word lightly. It's not a war between black and white or red and blue. It's a war between those of us who love the United States of America and a fringe minority who hates this country and what we stand for. It's a war between those of us who believe in free speech and those who believe in censorship. It's a war between those of us who believe in merit and those who believe in group quota systems. It's a war between those who believe in American exceptionalism and those who believe in apologizing for who we are and what we stand for. And I think now more than ever, we need a commander-in-chief who will lead us to victory in this war. A commander-in-chief who can't be bought and paid for by those special interests. Every politician anymore is dancing to the tune of their biggest donor. In my case, that biggest donor is me. I don't report to them. I report to you, the people of this country, not any other one. Frankly, I would rather speak the truth and lose this election than to win by playing some fake game of political snakes and ladders. And my bet is that's the winning strategy, but that's not up to me. That is up to you, the citizens of this country. There's a reason why I'm the only candidate in this race who can even touch certain issues, tell you certain things. That I'm against that CO2 pipeline that Steve King also has been pushing back against across half the state, using eminent domain to violate the private property rights of innocent farmers who don't want that in their backyard. To tell you it's based on a climate change agenda that absolutely is a hoax because it has nothing to do with the climate. I'm the only candidate who was at the State House several days ago pushing back so that your own Republicans in this state can actually hear the truth. That's why Steve King to Steve Holt across the state have switched even their endorsements from other candidates to vote for me in this, because I think we're sick and tired of politicians who hide from the hard issues. I'm the only candidate who can tell you I will strip vaccine manufacturers of their special liability exemptions, because where there has been injury, there needs to be justice. The only candidate who can tell you that Ronna McDaniel, the failed chairwoman of the RNC, needs to step aside after 5 failed years of leadership in this country. The only candidate who can tell you that every peaceful January 6th protester will be pardoned on my first day in office because it's the right thing to do for this country. Thank you. But if you want somebody who's actually going to gut the deep state, actually speak truth to power, then vote for the candidate who's going to speak the truth to you. God is real. There are 2 genders. Never thought I'd have to say that one. Fossil fuels are a requirement for human prosperity. Reverse racism is racism. An open border is not a border. Parents determine the education of their children. The nuclear family isn't a bad word. It's the greatest form of governance known to mankind. Capitalism isn't something we need to apologize for. It's the best system we have to lift us up from poverty. Not crony capitalism, but the real thing. There are 3 branches of government in the United States, not 4. And the U.S. Constitution, it is the strongest and greatest guarantor of freedom in human history. That is the truth. We fight for the truth. We stand up for the truth. That is what won us the American Revolution. That is what reunited us after the Civil War. That is what won us 2 world wars and the Cold War. That is what still gives hope to the free world. And if we can revive that dream over group identity and victimhood and grievance, then nobody in the world, not a nation, not a corporation, not a virus, not China, is going to defeat us. That is what American exceptionalism is all about. And that is what we will revive together to save this great nation. Thank you for coming out today, guys. God bless you and your families. And may God bless our United States of America. We will not stop until we get this job done. I want to open this up. Give me the hard ones. You have a decision to make on Monday night. I'm going to sit across the table from Xi Jinping. Give me the hard ones, and we'll start with you, ma'am.
What do you mean about the January 6th?
Hot water. Ginger tea. Okay, good. Thank you.
I watched that day on TV, and it was they were breaking into my Capitol. They were breaking.
I know what we saw. I know what we saw because it saddened me the same day.
So why would you, if I was there and I broke into here, they would arrest me.
Yeah.
So they should have been arrested.
So let me address your question, because I was where you were when in the same views, seeing the same thing. I was a biotech CEO, building my business. I was a conservative. I was writing I was anti-woke. I was in the middle of writing Woke Inc. But if you told me at that time that January 6th was the product of federal entrapment, I would have said that's crazy talk. I can tell you now, having gone deep, and as a presidential candidate, as a person who's running to lead this country, it's my responsibility to go deep. I can tell you that's not crazy talk. The reality is that video footage they released then, and for the first year and a half after, was the video footage they released after a lot of other video footage they never did. A mostly peaceful crowd shooting rubber bullets and tear gas in. Then the people respond to that. They cut that video footage. Then the video footage they didn't release, but we've now seen now, after Mike Johnson released it in recent months, Capitol police officers welcoming, some of them waving in people to come on into the Capitol, people who then went on to be arrested. One of the people at trial in front of a jury was acquitted on grounds of entrapment because a Capitol police officer waved him in to come in. So if a police officer is waving you to come into a building, and it's the house of the people that you're normally allowed to go, and you peacefully go around there, take some pictures, and leave. And one of those people actually was a tourist who was there that day. There was a lot going on. That person was acquitted. That's the product of government entrapment. And this requires getting into some level of detail that I wouldn't normally do in this occasion, but because you asked about it, I will. The Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping plot that was just a number of months before that actually began as a plot to storm the Michigan state capitol. Guess what we discovered? The FBI is the one who put people up to it. Multiple defendants there were acquitted at the end of their trial, facing potentially life or close to it in prison, were acquitted because the jury found that the FBI paid them with $5,000 credit cards apiece to go buy munitions to go do it. One of the jurors went up to one of the defendants afterwards and gave them a hug, apologized for what these relatively poor and destitute people had been put up to. And so against that backdrop, what I've said is anybody who was peaceful that day, and that's what I said, every peaceful protester on January 6th will get a pardon from me on day one. And nobody should have their constitutional rights violated. And I get where you're coming from because I was in the same place. Oh, countless. For just being present on the Capitol grounds. A gentleman by the name of Owen Schroyer literally didn't even enter the Capitol, but he was on a megaphone, a loudspeaker, yelling 1776. He spent time in prison. He's on my list to get a pardon. And this is after a year where Antifa and BLM were burning down the cities and streets of this country. We were told, and the police officers in this country were instructed, and the media was instructed to treat as peaceful protests. So there can't be two standards of the rule of law in this country. One for a last name of Trump, another for a last name of Biden. One for Julian Assange. I don't even know what his politics are, but he's rotting in a foreign prison, while Chelsea Manning, the government official who leaked documents to him, had her sentence commuted, pardoned by President Obama because she's transgender. I'm increasingly convinced Chelsea Manning is not transgender. She's just smart. Because that's how you actually earn a pardon in the United States of America. And so I was where you were a few years ago because I'm not deep in this stuff. And I like to think of myself as an independent thinker, but in ways that we don't even recognize, we are swallowing what we're force-fed by that mainstream media. And I do think it's important, at least for the leaders in this country. It's not the job of everyday citizens to spend their time researching all of this. But it's the job of leaders of this country to just tell the people the truth again. And I think we have a government that is the same government that's shrouded the truth about January 6th is the same one that said COVID didn't start in a lab in China for years. In fact, you were censored if you said that on the internet before we now know that it did. Said that the Hunter Biden laptop story was false on the eve of the last election before now we know that absolutely was a true story. The same people told you about the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that never was for years, without accountability. And so there's one thing I stand for, it's this. A government that once again tells the truth to its people and stands for one standard of the rule of law, regardless of your skin color and regardless of your political belief. And yes, I am the only candidate in this race who's able to touch these issues because the donors do not approve of me. The Republican Party establishment does not approve of this message. I can tell you that. But I don't report to them. I report to you. Non-violent.
So the
Yeah.
I get that.
Peaceful.
Because the ones that saw knocking down doors and rampant.
And that's a subset of the total people who were actually on the ground that day and a subset of people who were arrested. That's where I'm coming from.
That's what I was taking offense to, and I needed clarification.
Thank you. Thank you. What's your name?
My name, Jean Helmers.
Jean, thank you.
The only thing I would ask is that you have a more, and you already do, class than Trump. That you speak without, you speak like first.
I'll tell you something about our country. Half the job of the president is policy, and we can talk policy all day long, and I've been trying to go into more detail than ordinary candidates do. I hope we have. I think we have. But half the job of the next U.S. president is to revive our national character. And I'm not going to be the person who sits here and bashes Donald Trump because I think he was a good president, actually, and his accomplishments for the country. He kept us out of war and grew the economy. But I'm not in this to bash anybody. I'm in this to also revive our national character. And so the standard I want you to hold me to, we're all human beings, but the standard I want you to hold me to is one where each of us can look our kids in the eye and tell them, I want you to grow up and be like him. I would say be like them. Apurva and I both, we're doing this together. She's a hero. She's going to be a throat surgeon treating cancer patients while she's in the White House. We've talked about it, and she's going to continue with that because that's why we believe God put her here. God put each of us here for a purpose. But that's the standard. I speak for both of us when I say that's the standard I want you to hold us to. And I think that's how we revive our national character. And I'm not going to compromise on our America First principles. In many ways, I'm going further. In so many ways, I'm going far further than Donald Trump did, using our military to secure our border, not just building the wall, ending birthright citizenship for the kids of illegal migrants, mass deportations of the illegals. I'm going to fire 75% of the federal bureaucrats. I'm going far further with our America First agenda. I'm going to make Javier Milei in Argentina look like a moderate by the end of my first 3 months. But I will do it while also reviving our national character and reuniting this country. It's not about, you don't hear me sitting here bashing Joe Biden. Why? I mean, I don't see the point of it, to be honest. He's not even really the president. He's a puppet for the managerial class underneath him. Go after that permanent state. Do it using the Constitution. And if we're grounded in the Constitution, that's how we actually get the job done. So effectiveness and character together, they're not in tension. I think it actually go deep together. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, and I appreciate it. Well, thank you. I appreciate this. And I think that there's a time and place for everything. I'm not a wilting flower. I'll tell you what I teach my kids. You don't find around people, you don't go to school finding people to bully. If somebody bullies you, if somebody hits you, you hit them back 10 times harder because you can't have a bully roll over. So there's a time and place for everything, but we have to be strong enough to protect our kindness. And I think it's going to take a president who has both of those abilities to actually lead this country. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Right there. I'll take that. Thank you. Is that right? Thank you.
Iowa State Fair and some other places, and ever since then, I liked what you said. And I had a chance to ask you a question down there, and you're probably one of the most articulate politicians now that I've been around that actually put thought into things and really convey what you mean. And I hope that continues as far as it develops and goes forward if you become president.
Thank you. I appreciate that, sir.
However, I fear that we've gotten away from ruling with laws with the Senate and the House and with the executive branch. So my question is if you do not control Republican-led House or Senate or either, or they're both at divide, to get away from ruling from executive order on day one and forcing laws down whatever side it benefits and whatever side it doesn't benefit, how are you going to get back to those types of lawmaking to maybe unite the people to, not everybody's going to get what they want 100%. Some people are going to get 6 out of 10, and some people are going to get 4 out of 10. It's just going to be that way.
It's a great question, sir.
And another, just one more follow-up on that, to go off what you said about the January 6th protesters. I'm a retired Army veteran of 20 years myself. So that day was very important to me as well, depending on which footage you look at and the things that you see on TV. My question would be for those suffering innocent gentlemen that are sitting in jail right now that lost their jobs, lost their family, will the government some sort of back pay or some sort of compensation to get their jobs back, to get them back into their lives and maybe somehow make them not whole but compensate them for the disaster they've been put through?
So I met one of those individuals, actually. He came on the campaign trail, and he educated me a lot about things I didn't know that happened that day. His name was Brandon Straka, and I made a pledge to him, and I intend to keep it, which is that we will go case by case. On day one, anybody who was a peaceful protester, we'll leave that. That's a day one pardon. But then to go case by case where there have been consequences. And anytime there has been an injustice, if it can be rectified, it deserves to be rectified. It's a totally different topic, but it gives you an area of how I think about it. If you just excuse me for going to a different area, but I'll treat it the same way as, for example, I've said anybody in our U.S. military who was forced to lose their job because of their refusal to take the COVID shot, they should be restored. And in that case, I've pledged to do it with back pay times 1.5, because these people have been denied their pay and actually undergone a lot of suffering as a consequence. And so where there's been injury, there must always be justice. It's why I've taken every position I have is we want one standard of the rule of law, equal justice under the law. That's the United States of America. On your first question, it's a good question, and I've gotten this one often, and so I want to use this to draw a distinction. I'm a constitutionalist. I think the strongest constitutionalists in this state, many of them in recent days, have actually come to endorse me. you may not know from other districts, but state representatives like Eddie Andrews or Steve Holt or a number of others who have, Jeff Shipley in recent days came to endorse me, Sandy Salmon, for any of you who may know these individuals. These are strong constitutionalists. And so I think some people have misunderstood me largely because of the media characterization to say that the New York Times actually had a headline that was not particularly helpful because it was incorrect, that Vivek Ramaswamy would rule by executive fiat. No. To the contrary, most of the executive orders in the past that have been written, they're actually unconstitutional because the Constitution says the laws are made through Congress. What I'm doing is actually taking certain actions as the chief executive to run the executive branch of government. So if you're writing executive orders to substitute for legislation, that's wrong. I'll give you an example. Executive Order 11246. It was written by Lyndon Johnson, and it created race-based affirmative action. It said that if you're going to do business with the federal government or get federal money, you have to adopt racial and gender quota systems. A, that's wrong and it's bad policy, but B, that would be a policy that should have to go through Congress because that's effectively a law. I've said that I would rescind that executive order. That's the right thing to do. If I swear an oath to the Constitution, I'll rescind that executive order. That's different from saying I'm going to fire 75% of bureaucrats and shut down redundant agencies. That's running the executive branch of government, which isn't a lawmaking function. That's the job. Article 2 of the Constitution says the executive power of the United States shall be vested in a president. I'd be failing to keep my constitutional oath if I didn't actually shut down many of those agencies and fire those bureaucrats. And many of the regulations coming from those agencies are actually themselves unconstitutional because Congress never gave the agencies the power to write those regulations in the first place. And so we have to draw a distinction between a strong executive who runs the executive branch. That's what I have an obligation to do, which is different than using the stroke of a pen to substitute for legislation. Does that distinction make sense to you, sir?
It does, but I need clarification on how
Yes.
you make the House and the Senate to work better together.
So then,
different things, so
right.
more of a unified front.
Right. So that's a separate question. There was almost two questions in yours that you asked, and the first one was a good one. So it's not by executive fiat. In the first year, I'm actually going to focus most on what I can quickly get done by better running the executive branch. The mass firings of the bureaucrats, rescinding the regulations. And as commander-in-chief, I do get to decide where we place our troops. We have 40,000 troops sitting in Germany, which doesn't even spend 2% of its GDP for its own military defense. That's unconscionable. They're a NATO member, and they're not meeting their obligations. I'm going to move troops from places like that to our own southern border in this country, and our northern border too. That's going to deliver some big wins for this country right out of the gate. Right out of the gate. We're going to grow this economy. We're going to have the border crisis under control. Ending birthright citizenship for the kids of illegals. That's what the 14th Amendment already says. I wouldn't go into this level of detail, but you guys are asking questions that require me to, so I will. The opening words of the 14th Amendment say, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, those are the key words, shall be citizens. That's exactly what it says. Well, that means that the kid of somebody who's here illegally is not subject to the jurisdiction. They don't enjoy birthright citizenship. So on day one, if I swear an oath to the Constitution, I'll keep it by saying that nobody January 20th, 2025 going forward enjoys birthright citizenship in this country. We begin using the existing laws that allow ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, to work with local law enforcement to start the mass deportations. All of this is enforcing the existing laws on the books. We're going to have a country that's growing economically. We're going to have a border crisis that's behind us. And I think that positive momentum in that first year will, I think, then generate the political mandate and energy to be able to then drive through the second year the things that I want to get done through Congress. Major changes to move from a sick care system to an actual health care system in this country. Reducing the tax burden across Americans. 12% flat tax across the board is what we need. But I think I need the tailwind to do that. Most presidents go in the wrong order. They start with that legislative agenda. They don't get done through Congress what they set out to do. And then they lose, you're a lame duck in about 16 months. Most people don't understand that. So in that first 6 months, I'm going to get done the reform of the executive branch. And I'll defy that by our second and third year. I won't be a lame duck because that's what's going to give us the energy to get done through Congress the things we need to get done. Probably my signature legislative achievement in this country, which will reunite this country, will be this. actually securing elections in the country. Single-day voting on Election Day as a national holiday with paper ballots, government-issued ID to match the voter file, voter ID to match the voter file, and English as the sole language that appears on a ballot. That will unite this country. And then after that, we're done complaining about stolen elections or anything else. We're done. We're moving this country forward. That's not a black or white idea or a Democrat idea or a Republican idea. It's a basic American ideal. And that's how I will reunite this country. Not by being a traditional centrist, showing up in the middle and compromising. I'm not a centrist. I'm an America First conservative. But we're going to reunite this country by standing for the shared ideals that unite all of us as Americans. The idea that you get to speak your mind openly as long as I get to in return. The idea that you get ahead in this country not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions. The idea that we're a nation founded on laws, not on men. The rule of law means that your first act of entering this country cannot break the law. The idea of self-governance, that the people we elect to run the government ought to be the ones who actually run the government. My policies are tied to the ideals that unite all of us. They teach us that our diversity is our strength. No. Our strength is what unites us across that diversity. E pluribus unum. From many, one. That's what we've lost in this country. And here's how we're going to get it back. It's going to be by all of us. Not just me. All of us. Starting to speak the truth again. To overcome this culture of fear we have in our country. Say in public what you will say in private at the dinner table. Say it with a spine. Say it with conviction. Say it with respect. But part of respect is that you respect your neighbor enough to tell him what you actually think. And what you realize, I think, right now is fear has been infectious, but courage can be contagious in this country, too. 80% of us in this country share our national values in common. Half the 20% are people younger than me who never learned those ideals in the first place and who are lost in search of direction and purpose and meaning. We're going to bring them along, too. That's how we're going to win a landslide election. If you all make me your nominee in this GOP primary, starting with the caucus right here on Monday, my obligation back to you is to deliver you a landslide election like what Ronald Reagan did in 1980. And that sounds about as ridiculous for me to say as it did for Reagan to say in probably January of 1980. But I'm confident we can do it. But it's going to take somebody coming in from the outside of our broken politics, and if I may say it, somebody with fresh legs who can reach and lead the new generation of Americans who is lost for purpose and meaning when faith, patriotism, hard work, family, these things have disappeared. And that leaves this black hole of a vacuum in our hearts. And when you have a vacuum that runs that deep, that is when the poison fills the void. Wokeism, transgenderism, climatism, COVIDism, depression, anxiety, fentanyl, suicide. It is not an accident that we see the rise of these same poisons at the same time. These are symptoms of a deeper void of purpose and meaning in our country. That's why I say we as a Republican Party, we've grown lazy. If the other side gives us race, gender, sexuality, climate, I want us talking about the individual, family, nation, God. That beats race, gender, sexuality, and climate if you have the courage to actually stand for something. And so that's why still as an America First conservative and a Republican, that's how, with a year of success behind us, I believe I will be the president to be able to not only reunite this country, but to revive the role of Congress and the executive working together to actually do the right thing for our country, starting with securing our elections, move into fixing our healthcare system, to actually even giving us a healthcare system from the sick care system we have today, to flattening out the tax code, growing this economy. Yes, we start on that after I deliver for you the things I promised I would. Those things I can't promise you because they depend on Congress. I only make promises I can keep. But if we get done what I have promised you, and all I need is to win this election to keep those promises, I'm confident I have the best shot at getting the rest of it done too. And that's the honest answer to your question. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Time for one last question.
All right, so this is kind of about the pipelines.
Good.
So in your opinion, what is the difference between the Keystone Pipeline, this carbon capture pipeline, and then the oil pipeline that they always propose up in Anwar? And which of those would you support, and which one of them would you be against?
Sure. So I'll tell you what I'm against, actually. First thing is, I'm against federal subsidies to advance a particular agenda. A company that stands to benefit should be able to take the risk on its own and decide what its own benefits are. I'm against the use of our own taxpayer money to being used to subsidize that pipeline. That's the first thing I'm against. And the second thing I'm against is the use of eminent domain to unwillingly, against somebody's will, use their land to build something in their backyard that doesn't advance their own interest if they disagree to it, unless it meets the Supreme Court's and the Constitution's test of actually being a public use that is actually necessary, which is an extremely limited number of cases. I believe it is not necessary, literally not necessary, and that's the legal test, to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere with a pipeline. It is fundamentally unnecessary. It is based on a climate change agenda that's based on false pretenses. Carbon dioxide is plant food, actually. The Earth is more covered with green surface area coverage today than it was 100 years ago because carbon is plant food. There's a 98% reduction in the climate disaster-related death rate over the last century. More people died last year, 8 times as many people died last year of cold temperatures rather than warm ones. So I could go all day about the false premises of the climate agenda. But the standard for eminent domain, which is to use a farmer's or anybody else's private property against their will for a price that the government or a private actor names, is reserved for the scarce few cases in which it is necessary. And if we say removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is necessary to meet the legal test for eminent domain for a pipeline, then tomorrow it's going to be your gas stove, your combustion engine vehicle, your cow, your truck, with a $50 check left in your mailbox. Because if you believe carbon dioxide removal from the atmosphere is necessary, it's necessary for those things too, and they can use eminent domain to seize those things as well. That's why I'm against the use of federal subsidies and the use of eminent domain for this CO2 pipeline across the state. And frankly, I'm ashamed of the Republicans in this state and the Republicans in this presidential campaign who can't say a peep about it. Multiple of my competitors saying that they're okay with eminent domain for this pipeline. Not because they actually are, but because that's what the donor class requires them to say. And so as I said before, I would rather speak the truth and lose this election than to win by playing some political snakes and ladders. When I say I'm the only candidate, I really mean I'm the only candidate who can say these things. I spoke at the state capitol the other day at a rally against this. And people came out to that rally. They're really invested in this. And let's have some real talk here. I saw several people still coming wearing Trump hats to that rally. Well, at a certain point, if you don't stand for what you actually believe, you say one thing and you're really excited against the carbon capture pipeline at the state capitol, but you behave a different way when you show up on Monday at the caucus, there's a disconnect, and we're not going to get our country back. And I respect the heck out of my predecessor. And for some of you in this room, I'm being as candid with you, I'm candor. How many of you are planning to be at the caucus on Monday night? Thank you. Can I ask, how many of you are inclined or expecting to support me at the caucus right now? A smaller number of you, but a good number of you. And how many of you are thinking about going for, I think there's 2 America First candidates in this race, Donald Trump and myself. How many of you are thinking of going for Donald Trump? A couple of you. So let me speak to you and ask you to at least share what I'm saying with the others in this community. I have shown him more respect than anybody else in this process and pushed back against the disgusting assaults against our republic and our elections, including even in the Supreme Court brief that I submitted yesterday, making the legal arguments, frankly, because I'm not even sure they're going to make those legal arguments, and it needs to be done for this country. So I personally submitted an amicus brief to the Supreme Court yesterday. I've done everything I can. But to the others in this community, and I'm asking you guys not only to come to the caucus, but everyone here to tell 10 people in this community what we talked about and to bring them to. If you think they're going to let Donald J. Trump get anywhere near that White House again, I'm going to ask you to open your eyes. This system has made clear they're going to stop at nothing. And I mean nothing, to keep this man away. Our America First agenda is bigger than one man. It doesn't belong to Trump, and it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to you, to us, to we the people in this country. It didn't start in 2016. It started in 1776. And we owe it to our founding fathers and to this country to make sure we have another 250 years and then some still left. Do not walk into that trap. This spring, in the early summer, they want to narrow this down to a two-horse race between Trump and a puppet who they can control. Eliminate Trump and trot in their puppet into the White House. Do not fall for that trap. A year from now, you don't want to look back and say, oh, did I not see that coming? Or what the heck were we thinking? You've got the future of America First right here. I can take this movement forward to the next generation. I'll ask Trump for advice as an advisor in my first year, understanding, picking up where he left off and taking on the deep state. It's not about ego. It's about this country.
You'll be their next target, though.
Of course.
Of
course, and I'm not going to...
It'll come 10 times as hard for you than the next guy.
Of course, but I will tell you this. I'm not going to make it as easy for them as he did. I'm not going to... They don't have on me what they have on him. And I understand the law and the Constitution of this country. And it takes a president who has both those things, the businessman, yes, the outsider, but also who knows and deeply understands the law and the Constitution. That's why I'm submitting an amicus brief, for God's sake, even in the case that Donald Trump is bringing to the White House. It takes somebody who understands that deeply to do what's right for this country. And so can I guarantee you that they're not going to come for me in the same way? No, I can't, but I think I'm the last best chance we have. And it's up to each of us to do our part. It's not going to be some Messiah coming from the White House to save us. I'm not going to claim to be that. If we're going to be saved, it's going to be because we save ourselves. Every one of us, every pastor, every parent, every teacher across this country doing their part. But I am volunteering to do mine. And so to those of you who are in this community, and even those of you who talk to those in this community, that's what I'm asking the others who are supporting me to do, who are looking at supporting Donald Trump, who I respect immensely and have shown immense respect to. I'm asking you to vote for me on January 15th, on Monday night, because that's the right thing for our country. And we love the man for getting this fight started. It is my job to now finish it, to take our movement to the next level. And if you all do your part on Monday night, I promise you, my family and I, Apurva and I, we will do ours to make sure we don't have to be this nation in decline anymore. We don't have to be at the end of the ancient Roman Empire anymore. I think what George Washington would say if he was with us right now is that we are still a nation that is still a little young, actually. Going through our adolescence. Figuring out who we're going to be when we grow up. That you do have another 250 years left. We don't have to be this nation in decline. We still can be a nation in our ascent. I'm not going to be the guy who falsely tells you it's morning in America, because it is not, but it can be. I will not tell young people and look you in the eye and tell you that the American dream is alive and well. It is not. It is alive and hanging on for life support, but it can be. So if you all do your part, we will do ours to make sure we look our kids in the eye and mean it when we tell them that you get ahead in this country with your own hard work, your own commitment, your own dedication. And that you know what? You are free to speak your mind at every step of the way. That is the American dream. That is what we are running to. And with your help on Monday night, that is what we will revive to save this great country. Thank you for coming today, guys. God bless you and your families, and may God bless our United States of America. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, man. think about what I said, sir. Do what's right for our country. Don't fall for their trap. They've laid a trap.
You're young.
Do not fall into it. They've laid a
We
trap.
need you. We need you. But
They
maybe
laid a
later.
trap. We don't have that kind of time. I'm telling you what's happening, sir.
Yeah.
In the spring,
You-
they want
you
to narrow
remember
this
my
to
guy?
two-horse race, get Trump out, put their puppet in. Do not let them do it. I'll respect
We
the man.
don't want Dickie. We don't want Dickie for sure. That's,
Which is Dick
that's
Cheney
who-
2.0. That's the
Yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah.
Do not fall into their trap. We owe it to our country. I mean it, sir. It pains me to watch this. They want Trump versus Nikki. Take Trump out, put Nikki in. That's what they're doing.
That's what they're working
And we just can't let that happen. That's why I'm here.
Going back to Israel.
Yes, we already do.
Not too much. I mean,
Well, I
we're
think
trying to let
no. I'm saying we already have. Trump moved the capital to Jerusalem, which was the right thing to do.
Yeah, but
you're talking about right now.
currently right now, they
Diplomatically,
don't want
get
to.
out of their way is what we need to do. Biden's
let
second
them
guessing their
clean it up
decisions.
and-
Let them do their job, and they get to do it without the U.S. or the UN getting in their way.
Iran's the big
Well,
bad thing in there.
well, look what's happening right now. So thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys, and just remember what I said, okay? Thank you. Hey,
Appreciate you coming.
thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here.
It's really in this
I
weather.
appreciate you coming.
Yeah, I was
Thank
wondering
you.
if I could get a picture with
Yeah,
you.
let's do it. Let's do
Okay.
it. We'll get a quick picture. We'll do a quick photo line.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
This is my daughter.
Hey,
We'll walk down the line and we'll take photos that way.
Okay.
Sounds good? Oh,
Thank
right
you.
here, right here. Sorry, right here.
thank you.
All
I
right,
appreciate
thanks,
that.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Caroline, can you just tell somebody just for the go, can I have like some like hot water to go and some food? Okay, thank you. Thank you. And some food. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you.
everything.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank
one more
Thank
quick
you.
statement.
Yeah.
You know, I'm worried about, you know, how if Trump's next and maybe if they do assassinate him, are you and Aporva and everybody staying safe and taking appropriate things? Because what if you're next?
We're being smart.
What if you're
and
next?
So look, my faith teaches me God puts us here for a purpose. We rely on God for the ultimate protection, but we're well protected.
Okay,
So
good.
thank you, my man. I appreciate it.
good to know
I
that.
appreciate that.
'Cause-
I appreciate you praying for our family.
If
I appreciate
say-
you praying for our family. That's what I ask.
Say it doesn't go well on this time. What's next for the next 4 years? What's your plan?
I'm all in for the country. It's not about my career. It's about this country. I don't think we have that kind of time.
Well, I hope that you.
I think it has to be this time.
because we need people just like you.
I appreciate that, my man. I think right now for our country it needs to be this time.
Yeah.
I hope I have your support on Monday.
Yeah, I'll see you
Thank you.
Monday. Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yep, thank you.
Good to see you again, guys.
Yep, good to see you
Good to
again.
see you again. You want to take that picture? We can.
Sure.
Yeah. Can you take that picture for us, sir?
That's our camera.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it, guys. Thank
Thank
you.
you for, because we're on the eminent domain list.
You are.
They're taking our
we're
land.
Unbelievable. Well,
They're taking our
we will
land.
make sure that they do not.
I know.
We will
I
make
hope
sure
you
that
told me.
you should hold me
I
to it.
told you
I've been at
that-
every step of the way. I've been against this. So
You told me that at the Holiday Inn when I was there with you.
good,
I told
and
you
I
was gonna hold you to it.
and you will hold me
I
to
have
it.
you on video. so you said
I
it.
deserve. You deserve to hold me to it. Actually, tell the people in this community and bring them out. Like I said, even the people who are thinking they're going in a different direction, bring them to ours.
mine and most of our family.
Thank you. It means a lot to me. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate
I'm
you.
committed to your caucus for Humboldt County next week. But
Thank you.
when you're elected, will you do all your speeches the way you do this?
Yes. Yes.
It wouldn't be boring.
We will do it, and we'll do
Yeah,
it.
no.
We're thinking about
No.
a podcast weekly, like a fireside chat we used to do. That's also how we get our country back. I appreciate that, sir.
But I mean, we have watched State of the Unions that
Yeah.
are boring.
No. We're going to do.
We don't want to see that.
They're not going to be pre-written speeches. They're going to be honest thoughts. That's what I appreciate that. So you have my word on it. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your question.
I'm in the caucus
Thank
for
you.
now,
I appreciate that.
but
That means a
I
lot
have
to me.
huge issues with Trump.
Okay.
He just has no class and no
I'm America first, but
Yeah.
in terms of character, that's half the
character.
job.
Character matters,
That's
and so
half,
does
especially
so
for the
does
presidency.
words.
Thank you. Would you like
You
a
don't
picture?
have a lot of skeletons, right?
No. I mean, I released 20 years of tax returns in the opening weeks of the campaign. You get-
When I found out I paid more taxes than Trump,
Yeah.
it really irritated me.
Thank you all for being here. If you spread the message in this community and bring
I
people out,
already did.
it's a
I
cold
texted
night.
my niece.
It's a cold night, so we have to encourage people to come out for us. But I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, awesome, man. I love the two A's, the one that protects all the others, brother.
We'll be there Monday night.
Thank you, man.
Full force, buddy.
We got you. Thank you. We got your back. Thank you, young man. How old
Can
are
I get
you?
a picture real quick?
How old are you?
16.
16. Thank you for being here again. Thank you.
About an internship?
We would love that. Thank you for being
No,
here,
no
guys.
problem. Nice to
Spread
meet
the
you again.
message, and thanks for Monday night, guys. Thank you so much.
Hey,
man.
appreciate you making that
Good
out.
to see you,
You're
buddy.
a trooper.
Well, we don't. I mean, if you guys come out for us, I'm coming out for you.
Exactly right.
So,
Appreciate
yeah.
it.
Half the stuff you talk about, that'd be amazing.
I think we're going to get the things I promised. We're going to get done. All of what I get promised. There's things I didn't promise that I'm going to try, but the things I promised, I'm confident we will get done.
Amazing.
Thank you, my
Can I
man.
get a picture with you?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it real quick. Yep, they're going to
Appreciate your hard work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, man.
All right, thank you. Hey, stay safe. Stay safe.
Monday night.
Yep, absolutely. Be there.
Yeah,
Be
Monday
there.
night. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Bring as many people as you can. Thank
Can I
you.
get a picture real
Thank
quick?
you. Thank you. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Can we have it to go?
Just take it.
And we have food too, Patrick.
Stop.
Hey,
How's it going? I'm
do you
actually
guys
working
make?
right now.
Did you make our event, or did you just come for the?
No, we just
Oh
delivered
my
here
gosh.
and we saw you.
Awesome, guys. Thank you for being here. Let's get a picture. I got a favor to ask you, though. You know what it's going to be?
What's the favorite?
It's about Monday night.
He says it's about Monday night.
Oh yeah.
I can get a better photo of you guys.
That's good.
sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
thank you. It's personal.
Thank you.
Hey, so this guy's going to give you something to fill out.
Yes, sir.
You sign that, and you come on Monday night. 30 minutes of your time on Monday night.
Yes, sir.
Come to the caucus. We're going to save this country. I appreciate it. Oh, we are. Absolutely. It's the only choice we have. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I saw you fall.
A little bit. A little slip and slide. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. What's your name?
Brenda.
Brenda. Good
Yes.
to see you. Thank you, Brenda.
Right, thank you
spread
so
this
much.
message, and we're not going to stop till we get this job done.
Sounds
Thank
great.
you, guys. Thank you. Thank you all for being here.
You betcha.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. We appreciate your support on Monday night, and
Be safe out there.
thank you. We will. If you spread the message in this community and bring them out. Oh, we can handle it. Like I said, we can handle it. If you can handle it, we can handle it. Thank you.
First time I've seen you.
Thank you, my man.
keep it up.
I appreciate it. We're not going to stop till we get this done. So thank you, my man. We got it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you, guys. Hey, Isabel, hey, good to see you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for coming along. Our first one was awesome. Yeah, too bad we missed it the first one.
Oh,
but
you know what?
We had like a giant trucking firm, and a bunch of people came out. It was great. In the blizzard, people coming out gives me hope. Thank you. Good to see you guys. Thank you. Were you here for our event?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you, guys. I appreciate it, guys. You spread the message, brothers.
will, bro.
Thank you, and you get this done for us in this country. Let's see what this piano looks like. It's over. It's good stuff. Classic. I'm going to just use the restroom. I got to go because we have a long drive.